this month, the month of November, is, of course, Men's Mental Health Month. And mental health still not talked about enough in men. Certainly a pride thing. Not too sure whether to open out to people or, just tell people how they're feeling or what they've been through. Now, a lot of people have requested that I did this video just because we have a bigger audience now to reach out to. I did one a couple of years back when the channel was very small. We didn't have a big audience, and explained what I'd been through and my journey to get where I am now. So I'm going to do that again. It's not easy for me to talk about a lot of the time because I have been through difficulties in my life and still do. But I feel like, people need to know and have that inspiration that if they have a dream, no matter what setbacks they have or what they're going through at the moment, they can achieve something. When I started this channel with a mobile phone, it took, 3 years to get any sort of decent subscribers. I had to keep going. I gave up once, I started again, and I didn't give up this time. I kept going, and we're in a very different place now, of course, with the channel. So I wanted to just explain my story and explain to everybody that, you can do it. Whatever you're going through, you can do it. But it's very important that you reach out to people and tell people how you are feeling if you are not in a good place. I know a lot of our subscribers have been in dark places or are currently in dark places and have thanked the channel for what they've done or what we've done to help them through that period. And that's what it's all about. It's about helping people get through whatever difficulties they are going through. Many people know who subscribe to this channel know that I suffer from Parkinson's, an awful illness which cripples me nearly every day. It's a release for me to come and sit in front of a camera and talk to everybody. I write down what I'm going to say. It's relaxing for me, and it's my get out, if you like, to just sitting in a chair all day and thinking, oh my God, I'm in so much pain today, or my tremors are really bad, whatever it may be, or my speech is a bit slow, whatever the symptoms may be that day. I know that I have this as my out, my release, able to, spend time with you guys out there on live shows and things like that, and do recorded shows and keep myself busy talking about Newcastle United. But we'll come to that shortly. If I take it all the way back, my mental health obviously started when it wasn't really recognised by anybody, really. I remember breaking my wrist. I must have been about 15 years old, and I went to hospital for an operation, and a couple of nights after I'd had that operation, I suffered what I now know was a panic attack. I woke up in the middle of the night, I was sweating, I was I was all over the place. I didn't know where I was, and I was walking around outside at ridiculous times during the night just to try and calm myself down. And that scared me because nobody had ever spoken about what mental health was. And a few weeks after that, I didn't dare say anything. I didn't dare tell my parents. I didn't dare say anything to the doctor or my friends, because I thought they would just think I'm stupid, and I was a little bit wary of how I was feeling. And a couple of years went by, and as I got into my working life, that's when it started to get really on top of me. I couldn't understand it. I didn't understand it. It was a strange feeling. Instead of going to work, I was driving to a friend's house and just spending the day there until it was time to come home and telling everybody that I'd been to work. Now, whatever reason that was, I still don't know to this day. It was just the fear of going somewhere. That's all it was. It was utter fear. It took over your body, and I was frozen to it and couldn't do anything about it. And as I say, didn't feel confident to talk to anyone about it, and that scared me at the time. As an 18, 19-year-old young man, it scared me because I was playing ice hockey then, but you couldn't tell anybody. You couldn't talk to anybody because, especially in the macho world of ice hockey, God, if anybody thought you were a little bit down or whatever, they just tell you to give your head a wobble and get on with it, which was the normal excuse back then for a lot of people, and that's why I think a lot of people did silly things back then, ended their lives when it really wasn't necessary because they just didn't have the help out there to go and speak to somebody. And And as time went on for me, it just got worse. I lost my job because obviously I wasn't going in. The family find out that you're not going to work and don't understand. Just did not understand why. And, trying to explain it was very, very difficult. But, what I will say is it went on throughout my younger life. Despite me, getting on well in the ice hockey, having a good life. I had a good life. There's no doubt about it. But, it was always hanging over me. And when you know what you know now, looking back then as a kid, my God, it was scary. My daughter, who's now coming up 16, we had to pull her out of school because of anxiety. She struggles in situations where there's a lot of people around. It's heartbreaking to see. But what she has an advantage of having now is people to talk to and people who understand what she's going through. And there's so many kids in this world going through that kind of thing that the support mechanisms are there. I'm not saying they work brilliantly, by the way. There's still a lot of work to do, especially in children's mental health, which is massive now. And I think, it is being more recognised and people are trying to, do something about it. She's homeschooled now, which for me was a very, very good decision because it lifted a lot of the anxiety on her shoulders. But she's still very, very wary of going places where there's going to be a lot of people, etc. She's very rare. She's very scared of strangers. It must be a horrible feeling for kids to feel like that. But the mechanisms are in place now. They're not perfect. They need a lot of work, but at least they are working towards something now rather than what it used to be when I was a kid. Now, obviously, going through my life, I suffered a horrendous injury with the ice hockey when I broke my jaw. Completely smashed my jaw, plates and steel rods in my head now for the rest of my life. That was a tough period of my life because I was working at the time. I had to take a lot of time off work because of that injury. Going through so many operations with it, so many different symptoms of headaches and all that kind of stuff. But I bounced back from that. I kept working and I kept working hard. But all of a sudden, 2015 was the year that everything changed for me. Massively changed for me because as a grown man, to feel what I felt in the next few months was horrific. Sitting at work one day, a colleague just looks at me and says, "Do you realise your right arm's shaking?" And I looked down and, it was, and I couldn't stop it from shaking. And I thought, well, that's very strange. But I just put it down to, a trapped nerve or something. I've been lying in bed funny or whatever it may be. And unfortunately, went to the doctors. The doctor sent me for various tests. And I remember it was December the 23rd. I had to go in to see the specialist. And I was told that I had Parkinson's disease. You could have knocked me down with a feather. It was, I felt such a wave of different emotions, anger. I was upset. I was very upset, obviously. And I was scared because at that time, people used to think of, oh my God, Muhammad Ali or Michael J. Fox, whatever they're going through, you think that you're going to end up like them, despite the fact that medication is very, very different these days. But I then felt how, I think about people being told that they have different terminal illnesses. And, you hear people talk about it and say how they deal with it. It's very hard to process. Very, very hard to process. And suddenly you understand how those people must have felt. Now, I didn't think much of it at the time for work-wise because I thought, well, I'm still, okay to go to work. But I wasn't because the job I had at the time was particularly stressful. And it brought on the symptoms to the point where my specialist told me that I could no longer do that job. I could no longer work. That broke my heart, and it because I had to go back and tell my family that I couldn't support them anymore. That was the first point of my downfall, was having to go home and tell the family, my 3 young kids, my wife at the time, that I couldn't do the job anymore and I can't work. And I felt really guilty about that. guilty because I couldn't bring the money in. I couldn't support them, and I felt terrible to the point where, I would sit up on a night time just in despair thinking, what am I going to do? What has my life become? And over that next few weeks of dealing with the diagnosis and things like that, it just went downhill, completely went downhill. I got to the point where the lowest point for me was when I was sitting in the dining room. Must have been 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I sat there with various bottles of pills just sitting on the table, and I actually just said to myself, is my life worth it anymore? What can I actually offer anymore to my family, my kids? I've just got nothing to give. What is the point? And that for me was the lowest point that I think I hit on this journey, because I do call it a journey, because it's a journey of so many emotions, but it's a journey of how to cope or trying to bounce back, learning how to do new things and various different stages. But I look back to that time and still get very emotional about it, because I can't believe that I actually thought like that. Because I didn't think there was a way out. I truly didn't think there was a way out at the time. I thought everything has been turned upside down here, and I just can't. I can't grasp it. I don't know what to do. And I didn't open up. I didn't open up to my wife at the time. I didn't open up to anybody. And that's where the mistake lay for me, is bottling everything up. I didn't want to be me anymore. I just didn't want to be who I was, because I didn't like that person. I was looking in the mirror and I thought, I hate you for what you've become. Successful through the ice hockey years, successful in my career, worked my way up to a really good job, and it all got taken away from me. Now, a couple of months after that, I was then told I was diabetic. And that just sort of, I just kind of looked and thought, this is not right. This just can't be right. I can't be having to do all this, injections and all that sort of stuff on top of various medications that I was taking for Parkinson's. It just ruined me. But obviously, looking back to that time where I was sitting in the dark with those tablets on the table, and I thought, I just kept thinking of the kids, and those kids kept me going. I put them away, and I got on with things. And I did seek help. I did seek help after that, because I was sick of going through years. This is even before the Parkinson's diagnosis. I would struggle with my sleep. I would get myself into awful states of depression. And I was sick of it by now. I was sick of feeling that way. And I just thought, I've got to find some help. I've got to do something to get my life back on track. But my wife then decided to leave the family. She had her own reasons for that, and fair enough. I get on okay with my ex-wife, and everything's okay with that. So there's no sort of malice there. But obviously my marriage fell apart, and I ended up in this sort of house on my own, seeing the kids a few days a week, and everything just kept going down. And those kind of feelings where you think, God, I just can't get out of this funk. There's just, every time that I looked to do something else would happen a couple of days after that would just put me back to ground zero again, and having to fight my way back up. Now, I did a very, very stupid thing back then. When I got the diagnosis, and I'm talking about how I didn't want to be me anymore, I would start trying to open bank accounts, etc., in a different name. I tried to create a new person. Not fraud or anything like that, trying to copy someone. I would just try to be somebody else. I created my own character in the world. And unfortunately, that got found out. A policeman knocked on the door one day and sat me down. Now, when those police officers arrived at my house, I completely broke down. And I think at the time, that's exactly what I needed. As strange as it sounds, I completely broke down. And those police officers, one in particular, a policeman, stayed with me for about 2 hours that afternoon, going through everything, going through absolutely everything with me, how to help me. Never once criticised me or said I'm, anything else, but, he could understand the suffering. Trying to create this person out of nothing was a wrong thing to do because, it doesn't exist. And I explained why I was feeling like that. Now, for me, believe it or not, this police officer that came to the house that day was a kind of guardian angel for me, because for the next few weeks, he guided me through everything to pull me out of this funk. He helped me with, somehow I managed to get a bank account in this fake name, and, he helped me clear all that up. He was incredible, absolutely incredible. So as much crap as the police get, there is some good ones, some really good ones out there. And, the fact of the matter is, he got me thinking more steadily. Not the doctors, not anybody. It was this police officer from that day that he knocked on the door. And it was, I'll always be grateful to him for that. Because if it wasn't for him, I don't know where I'd be now. Because he really did help me. And that was my release. When I broke down that day, that was my release. It was a release of years and years and years of hiding everything, going through internal pain, not being able to reach out and speak to people, not being able to deal with it in the way I wanted to deal with it, and not have to hide it anymore was a big thing for me. And I think that's important for anybody going through any kind of mental health, is just don't hide it anymore. It doesn't help. It doesn't get you anywhere. It just ends up with more and more pain lying on your shoulders. And it's an awful thing to have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And anyone going through it now, or anyone that's been through it, will understand what I mean by that. You've got to just focus on something and go for that goal. I know it's difficult. And people will say, well, it's all right saying just get up and do it. But if you've been there and you've been rock bottom like I have, there is a chance. There is a chance that you can just bounce back and become somebody else, become a new person. I did it in the wrong way. I tried to create a different name and be named different, and it was crazy, but I wasn't thinking straight. My head was scrambled. But what I mean by become a new person is just forget what you've been, forget the past, and just try and focus on what you want to do for your future. I think that's massive. Focusing on something really gives you a goal to aim for. And no matter how hard that anxiety or depression or whatever it may be is thumping on the back of your head, you fight back. And it never goes away. It never truly goes away, because you're always fighting it. Once you have problems with anxiety and depression, they never go away. They're always there in there somewhere. And it becomes like a coping mechanism of how to deal with it on a daily basis. Now, my symptoms are horrible sometimes. When I wake up on a morning, I can't move my neck, my legs are stiff, my arms are stiff. It is really painful. The headaches that I get are just genuinely horrible. The cold coat hanger headaches, which Parkinson's creates, which means it goes up the back of your head and then round the sides. And it is a nightmare to deal with. And it's horrible because you feel helpless. And I feel helpless still to this day. I feel guilty. I feel guilty that I have this illness. And I feel guilty that I can't go out into the world and do the jobs that I grew up doing. But, like I say, this is now my release. And I once just thought, right, I was watching YouTube one day and I thought, do you know what? Why not give this a go? Why not just try? And I started filming in the kitchen on my mobile phone, and this was about 6 years ago. I did around 3 or 4 videos that didn't really go anywhere. And, me being me at the time, I thought, what the hell's the point? This is a waste of time. despite me feeling good about it, despite me enjoying it, I thought, no one's going to watch, so what's the point? And I gave up. And then I met Susan. Now, obviously, I'd had a couple of relationships in between, but they didn't work out. But then I met Susan, and Susan has changed my life. Now, I'm not trying to be soppy here. What I'm trying to get across to people is that there is somebody out there for everybody who is willing to take a punt on you, if you like. Susan was understanding about my illness. She also took my 3 kids on. And I didn't ask her to do any of that. That's just the person that she is. Now, when I met Susan, she gave me the inspiration to try again. You know, she always used to say to me, you know, what do you want to do? What's your goal? And YouTube was my goal. I was watching all these channels and thinking, do you know what? I could really do that. But it was getting the motivation to do it because I was feeling so damn down all the time and not giving myself a chance to have an aim in life and a goal in life to go and do something, because I thought, you know what, I've been hit with this horrible illness, and what's the point? You know, I've just been crippled by it. And I thought, it doesn't matter what I do. At some stage, this illness is going to get worse to the point where I'm just sitting in a chair all day, not being able to do anything on my own. And that's the kind of anger that I was feeling, and still do. You know, I still get that. Especially when I'm having my really bad days. And it's awful because I get confused very easily. I don't understand things very easily at times. So there is a lot goes on in the background to this illness that, you know, people don't see when I'm sitting in front of a camera, because, you know, when I'm sitting in front of a camera, I kind of just, I'm able to forget about it, you know, and I'm able to feel like I'm normal, if that makes sense. I know I'm normal anyway, but if that makes sense to a disability point of view, I feel normal where I can come on here, you know, have what I'm going to say in front of me. So I still make loads of mistakes, as people know, but, you know, I enjoy it. I enjoy having a laugh with everybody on here. I enjoy doing the videos. And that's what Susan pushed me to do. You know, when Newcastle played games, she used to tell me to go upstairs, film on my phone about the match and what I thought of it and things like that. And, you know, it was big for me because, yes, I used to lose my temper and shout at the camera because of how Newcastle played. But I felt great doing it. I felt so good doing it. You know, even if I was in pain or I was fatigued or whatever the illness was thrown at me that day, I thought, you know what, I can do a video today. I can do this and I can edit it and I can get it up on YouTube. And, you know, as usual, it took a long time. It took another 2 years before I even started getting anywhere. You know, it was the beginning of 2022 that you know, the channel really took off, or back end of 21, it really took off. So it took a lot of patience and time to get there. But without Susan, I wouldn't have, because she was always pushing me to, you know, take myself to the next level, push myself to the next level. You know, despite sitting, feeling pain, feeling tightness in my muscles, muscle spasms, headaches, shakes, whatever it may be at the time, it was, the woman was simply remarkable. And I still do feel like this to this day. The guilt of having this illness is horrible. And it's upsetting because, I don't know, I generally just hate having this illness. And, you know, I feel guilty that I'm not able to do some of the things that I used to be able to do, that now Susan has to do. And Susan never complains about it. You know, she understands my limitations, and she does everything that I can't do. And that hurts. Even though she doesn't mind doing it because she's got a heart of gold. But I hate not being able to do those things, and I hate not being able to help her in certain situations that I would normally be able to do. The days that I'm not well, that I have to sleep a lot, or I'm in bed, and all the kids are here, you know, and she's got everything to deal with. And that breaks my heart that I have to put her through that. So I don't think the guilty side of my illness will ever go away. But at the same time, I still want to succeed. And whereas a couple of years ago, I didn't. I want to make a success of what I do now, because this is it. You know, I don't know how long I have left to do this, to be able to communicate properly, to be able to understand things like I understand now, because I don't know what's round the corner with my illness. You know, you see people go downhill very quickly with Parkinson's or any other terminal illness that people may have. It scares the crap out of me that I don't know what's round the corner. But it also inspires me that I don't know what's around the corner, because it inspires me to keep doing what I'm doing on a daily basis with this. This channel was never supposed to be anything but a hobby for me, because I didn't expect to be where I am now with it. It spiraled, completely spiraled. The popularity of it got better and better, and now we're here where we are. But this started for me as just a hobby, as a get out, something to focus on. But because I have such a wonderful, wonderful person in Susan who inspires me every day, and she does inspire me. You know, I look at what she has to put up with on a daily basis with me. She never complains. She goes out to work. She comes back. She does stuff for the channel. She looks after the kids when I'm not well. It's. And again, I'm not meaning to sound soppy here, but I have to try and explain to you guys how wonderful that feels, that you have somebody in your life who loves you that much that they will never complain and just help you in every single way they can to live a decent life. And because of that, we laugh every single day. There isn't a day goes by where we don't laugh together. We don't take the mickey out of each other. We never, ever argue. It's just an incredible relationship. And what I'm trying to say is, even if you haven't got that relationship, there is someone out there who will be that guardian angel for you. And it may not seem like that at this moment in time for you. It may seem like all the doors are slammed shut and there's no way out. There is. There is a way out, you know. And if I can just help one person by doing this video to say, look, I've got Parkinson's. I suffer terribly on a daily basis, and I'm not frightened or too macho to say that. I know there's a lot of men out there who will not admit that they're in pain, or they will not admit that they've got something terrible going through their head. It's okay. Because there is a way out for everybody. There is that door that will suddenly become ajar, and you have to burst through that door. Because I've done that with this channel. I love what I do on here. It's not easy though. And again, you know, I'm not trying to look for sympathy on it. I'm trying to explain how I feel. And some nights I'll come and do live shows and I'm in absolute agony. I've got no energy. But as soon as that camera goes on, it's like a light goes on in my own head where I can just focus for an hour or whatever it may be, and just, it takes me away from the pain. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say, that if you have an ambition and you think there's a possibility of doing it, do not let your mental health or whatever illness you have try and stop you, because it doesn't work. If you just sit and rot away, then you will end up in the situation I was a few years back, and that's not a situation I want anybody to be in. But there's a lot of people out there suffer on a daily basis, whether it be in their own mind or whether it be because of a terminal illness. And when you've got both, it's hell on earth. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's hell on earth. But the biggest thing you can possibly do when you're suffering is reach out to somebody. Because there is that person out there who will always be there for you. Whether it be a relationship or just a friendship or whatever. I have made some wonderful friends by doing this, who I would not normally have become friends with. And that's why I call the Toon Reviewer family now, because it is that important to me. And, you know, the people that are on this channel, you know, my co-hosts, Alex and Billy, they're like brothers to me. They are incredible people. The mods that I've got, they are just wonderful, wonderful people. And you, the subscribers, are wonderful people. Because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. I'd be talking into a camera to nobody. And that gives me inspiration. So however down and poorly I'm feeling, I always think, you know, I can't wait to speak to everybody and get on in front of the camera. And that's where Newcastle United comes into it. You know, Newcastle United to me has been in my blood since I was a young kid, since my dad used to take me into the Gallagher. You know, Newcastle would score a goal and I'd be halfway up the stand with my dad, and then before I know it, I was at the fence. But you used to stay at the fence at the end of the game, and your parents used to come and collect you. Memories like that will live long in my mind. And football for me, to be able to do YouTube and talk about the team I love, Newcastle United, is everything to me. You know, I could do different subjects on YouTube, but Newcastle United is just, you know, whether it be good or bad, it's in my blood. And Newcastle United, like I say, whether it's been good or bad, you know, it's been good for me mentally. And yeah, you know, a lot of people will say during the poor Ashley years and things like that, wow, you know, why would it help your mental health? But it does. You know, to be able to talk about it, good or bad. And this football club has meant so much to me over the years. And people, again, that I've met through the football club. Incredible people, inspiring people. You know, when I was at the awards the other week, and I saw, you know, people winning awards with disabilities and things like that, it was a wonderful feeling. You know, seeing so many people there who were doing exactly the same as what I do. Talk about their football team on YouTube. Talk about the sport they love on YouTube. And be rewarded for it. Was an incredible feeling. And yes, we all know that there's some very, very nasty people out there in the world of social media. You know, I've had it horrendously. But, you know, I learned to deal with that now in a very different way. I don't pay attention to these people anymore because there is more people out there that really support you to the odd one that just wants to destroy you. And I think that's important as well, because people have suffered on social media through trolling, through name calling, through whatever it may be. Don't listen to it. I know it's easy to say that, but just block them and concentrate on what's important to you. I think that's the main thing. You have to concentrate in your own mind what's important to you and not anyone else. If you want to do something, go and do it. Don't be put off by these people. It's very important that you have that goal, you have that straight drive down the line that you are going to achieve something. And as hard as it is on a daily basis for me, I still have that goal. I still have that burning desire to succeed. You know, I want to take this channel as high as I can possibly take it. I want to do this for Susan and the family and the kids. I want to do that because I want them to have something to be proud of. You know, to look back and say, oh, well, you know, for the kids, you know, my dad had a terrible illness, but he didn't let it get him down. He fought and he kept going and he achieved X, Y, Z. And that's what I want my kids to be able to look back on and not say, oh, he got an illness and unfortunately just, you know, couldn't do anything anymore. I never want to be in that situation. I know that one day I will be, and I have to face that. But right now, I just keep taking the medication. I keep taking painkillers for whatever pain I'm in that day, but I will keep going. Some shows that I can't do, if I'm not well enough, I know I've got the guys to cover my back with that, and the channel will always keep going. But it's been a very, very hard journey. I'm not going to lie. You know, just being able to sit here and say, oh, you know, aim for your goals. You know, it's not easy. You will come across many, many, many roadblocks, many brick walls that are in front of you before you get to where you want to be or what you want to achieve. But you'll smash them down. Eventually, you will smash them down. But it takes time and it takes patience to be able to get where you want in life. I've learned that the very, very hard way. But like I said, there's been various incidents in my life that I can look back to and say, yep, that was an inspiring moment. The biggest one for me, the biggest inspiring turnaround in my life was meeting Susan. And I make no bones about that at all. You know, she is my guardian angel. She was the one that was destined, I believe, to come into my life and completely change it for me. And she's done that. And I will always be grateful to her for that. For making me feel normal, for making me feel like, you know, I have got a purpose, and inspiring me every day. And for that, I'll always be grateful. Like I say, there is a few things in the back of your mind that you will have to try and fight. You know, those little voices that tell you you're not good enough, those little voices that tell you you can't do it. You have to fight back with those voices. You have to be strong. You have to fight back and do your best. That's all you can do. If you set out to try and do something and you give it a real good go and you don't succeed, at least you've given it a go. At least you've had a purpose to go and do something. And if that doesn't work, try something else. There's always loads of interests that you've got up there in your mind, and you're sort of going over many, many times about what you should do, what you shouldn't do. There's loads of things you can do out there. But the biggest important thing that I can say to anybody who's been through or is going through it is please reach out. You know, even if it's a stranger, it doesn't matter. Just reach out to somebody, because that stranger could end up being your guardian angel. You know, I talk about Susan being mine. But if you reach out to somebody and you know, a stranger may then become your guardian angel, that's just a wonderful thing to happen when that can happen in life. I have some great friends in my life as well who, you know, from my days of ice hockey, a couple of people I'm still in touch with who are very important people to me. And, you know, who still to this day are very important through that sport. And, you know, that will always, I'll always be grateful to them for that as well. And they know who they are. But it's important, guys, to reach out. Don't sit back. Please don't sit back and just bottle it up, because bottling up will do nothing. Bottling up will make it so much worse in the long run, and that's not what you want in life. You have to be brave. I know it sounds easy to say that, but you do. It's all about being brave and being determined. Listen, I hit rock bottom, right? I wanted to end it all, and I've got no shame in saying that. I didn't know where my out was. It just kept on coming. Bad news after bad news after bad news. I didn't want to be here anymore. I thought I just didn't have a purpose. But I battled on for a couple of years, and then I met Susan, and then things changed. Are things perfect health-wise for me? Absolutely not. I go through hell most days. But when I have somebody in my life like Susan and the kids, that hell just slowly disappears, because they brighten my day. You guys brighten my day. When I come on here and do live shows or I do videos with my buddies, that inspires me and brightens up my day and keeps me going. But if you ever need to reach out, I'm always here. You know, my email address is always in the chat, always in the description. If you feel like you need to reach out, or I can give you any bit of advice how to cope with something, please just email. You know, everyone that comes on the show in the live chat are fabulous people, absolutely fabulous people. And that's why we call it a family, because you can reach out to each other. But don't sit and hide it, because I did that, and trust me, it gets you nowhere. And to think, if I'd have done what I'd done, that if I'd have gone through with that night and not see my kids anymore, then nah. And what it would have done to them, there is always a way out. There is always a way out. No matter how many walls you have to break down to get there, there's a way out. And please trust me on that, because I've been there. I've been rock bottom. You can get there. You know, I still suffer terribly with depression and anxiety. And again, I'm not frightened to admit that anymore. I was, but I'm not now. And it's very, very difficult. I am not sugarcoating anything here. Depression and anxiety are just terrible. They're terrible illnesses to have to put up with. But nowadays, there are ways to cope with it. There are many, many people who understand. You'll always get the dickheads that don't understand and will always try and have a laugh or make fun of you. Just, they're irrelevant. These people that do that are irrelevant in life. They don't serve any purpose. Focus on the people that want to help you. Focus on the goals that you have in your own mind that you want to achieve. And trust me, you will get there. And even if you don't, you've tried. Just try something else, because you will succeed at something one day. And it keeps you going. It keeps you mentally stimulated, which is very, very important. That's what this channel does for me. Like I say, started this as a hobby. It was never going to be anything but a hobby. It still is a hobby. But if I can make a better life for me, Susan, and the kids through this, then I feel like I have a purpose all of a sudden. You know, I feel like I can contribute to the family and I can make them proud. Not someone who's just, you know, been diagnosed with an illness, got depressed and gave up. I don't ever want to do that. Even though there's a lot of days that I wake up and I do feel like that. But being honest is very important with yourself. Be honest with yourself and admit that you're feeling like that. But don't be ashamed of it. Never be ashamed of feeling like that. Because trust me, your guardian angel is out there. Somebody will be there. Or guardian angels. Some people will come into your life who you never thought possible, and things will change. That is the strongest message that I can possibly give, is that it can change, and it will change. But you have to be honest with yourself and admit that you're going through that problem. You know, don't have any of this pride nonsense. Or I'm too proud to say that I've got I'm feeling down, or I'm anxious about something. Never do that. Because like it says on the bottom there, it's okay to be okay. It's okay not to be okay. You have an option. You will always have an option. But reach out. You know, you look at people, you see them on YouTube, you see them on TV, whatever it may be. But they might be going through exactly the same thing that you're going through. But they've broken down that barrier in front of them and decided, you know what? I'm feeling like this, but I'm not going to let it determine who I am. I will fight this. And that's what I'm doing. That's what a lot of people are doing. That's what you can do. I promise you. It's not easy though. And I will never say it's easy, because it's not. It's very emotional for me to do this video talking about things that I've been through in the past. Because, you know, and the guilt I still feel to this day for having an illness. Feeling guilty about it. Hurting that I have to rely on people, especially Susan, to do so many things in my life. But she's the guardian angel that I'm talking about, that is there for everybody. People will have one out there. But you have to reach out. Don't sit. Don't suffer. Reach out. That is all I can possibly say to you. reach out is the most important thing. Speak to people and achieve your dreams, guys. Just try and fight for those dreams. However low you might be right now, it's nothing compared to the high you will feel if you fight for your dreams. But thank you very much for watching. Like I say, if I can just inspire one person from doing this video explaining my story, then that'll do for me. But please, always reach out. But thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you very soon. Take care.